Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Antec3 and welcome to Tech Saturday episode 3, where today I'm going to be giving you guys a $1,000 Intel gaming build. But don't worry, for you AMD guys, I will give you guys a $1,000 AMD build next week. But today I wanted to focus on Intel because last Tech Saturday I focused on AMD. So without further ado, let's get started. So to kick this build off, I'm going to be using the Intel Core i5-2320 3GHz quad-core processor. The stats for the CPU are on the right side. Pause the video if you need to, but I'm just going to go through some of the stats. It has 4 individual cores, so this is not a dual core, and it has hyper-threading. That's one bad thing about this CPU, is that it does not have hyper-threading, so that means that Windows will recognize it as a regular quad-core processor instead of like an 8-core processor. So that really sucks, but you really don't need an 8-core processor for gaming. A quad-core or a dual-core will do just fine. It has integrated graphics. It has the Intel HD 2000 graphics. It's a good thing we won't be using those because the only thing you'll probably be able to play is Minecraft on low settings. And for the wattage, this one is a 95 watt CPU, and for $183.97, this is going to be more than we need for a gaming build. Now, I didn't do this last build, but I'm doing it in this build. I'm adding a aftermarket heatsink. This is the Cooler Master RR-H101-22FK-RI heatsink. So this heatsink, I really like it because one, on the bottom where the CPU and the heatsink connect, I didn't get a picture of it. I'm sorry about that. You're just going to have to take my word for it. But on the bottom, the heat pipes are directly on the CPU, so that means that it's going to bring heat up to the heatsink and out of your case pretty quickly, and it's going to be much better than something else. And this one will attach to the motherboard just like the regular Intel stock heatsink that comes with it. So all you have to do is attach the 4 pegs to the Cooler Master and then just pop it in and you're good to go. The fan actually spins at 2200 RPM, so it's going to be keeping your CPU pretty cool. And for $14.98, this is a really good CPU cooler for the price. For the motherboard, I went with the MSI B75 MA-P45 Micro ATX LGA 1155 motherboard. I have to catch my breath after that one. So once again, stats are on the right. Pause the video if you need to. But this one, it uses the Intel B75 chipset. It has 4 240-pin DIMM slots. It supports wide range of memory speeds, and the max memory it supports is 32 gigabytes. It does have RAID support. It does not have Crossfire because it only has one PCI Express slot, and it has 5 SATA 3 gigabyte ports and 1 SATA 6 gigabyte port. So if you want to add an SSD, you can. The only thing I really do not like about this motherboard is that the SATA ports are standing up instead of on their side where they're supposed to be. Don't know why MSI did that, but for $64.99, this is going to be a really good motherboard. For the RAM, I went with the Crucial Ballistic Sport. This is actually 2 4GB sticks. They're DDR3 and they're 1600 megahertz memory. So the reason why I went with this one is because since we have 4 240-pin DIMM slots on the motherboard, I wanted to get 2 RAM sticks so we could take advantage of dual channel memory. It does have a heat spreader on both of them, so you don't have to worry about your memory getting overheated or anything like that. And for $75.98, this is particularly some really good RAM. I saw some really good ratings on it on Newegg. So yeah. Now the piece de resistance, the hard drive. Just kidding. I'll get to the graphics card next. But for the hard drive, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue. This is a 1 terabyte hard drive, 3.5-inch drive. And the reason why I chose this one was because you can't beat this hard drive. You have a terabyte hard drive. It has the SATA 6 gigabyte interface, but if you're planning on adding an SSD, I would suggest putting in the SATA 3 ports, and then you plug in your SSD into the SATA 6. Since your SATA 6 will actually take advantage of the 6GB port, it has 64 megabyte cache, and it spins at 7200 RPM. So that just means that your applications and everything you load onto the hard drive are going to load up pretty quickly. And for $58.99, like I said, you cannot beat this hard drive. So now for the piece de resistance, the graphics card. I went with the PNY GeForce GTX 670 2GB video card. The reason why I went with this one was because it's right below the 680, and you're going to be getting some really good 1080p performance out of this. It supports 4-way SLI, even though you won't be using it with the motherboard that I chose unless you take that motherboard out and put in an ATX motherboard. It has GDDR5 memory, so that's going to be really good for gaming. The core clock is 915 megahertz. I just think it's really funny. On the PC part picker site, for the stats, it said that it does have a fan on it, so you know you don't have to worry about it overheating. It does have a fan. It has one DVI-D dual link, one DVI-I dual link, one display port, and one HDMI port, and for $353.98, this is a really good graphics card, and you're going to be getting some really killer performance out of it. For the power supply, I went with the Antec High Current Gamer 620 watt power supply. This is a 80 plus bronze certified, because you don't want to go with a power supply that is not 80 plus bronze certified. The reason why I chose this one was because, one, it's a modular power supply, and if you don't know what modular means, it just means that you plug in the cables that you need and you don't have to plug anything else if you don't need it. So it's gonna be really good for cable management. So yeah, it's really good for that. 620 watts, that's more than enough wattage than we need for this CPU. And for $95.70, you really can't beat this power supply. For the optical drive, I went with the same optical drive. I went with the LG GH24NS95 DVD/CD writer for $17.98. Yeah, it's gonna get the job done. For the case, I went with the Cooler Master Elite 311 ATX mid-tower case. This one has the blue lighting on it. You can look for something that has red or orange or whatever your favorite color is. You could search for it. The stats for this one are on the bottom left corner. But the reason why I went with this one was because, one, it comes with a fan, so yeah. Two, the power supply is on the bottom, so that way the power supply is not on the top and it won't be blowing hot air onto your GPU or your CPU, so that's really nice. And for $35.99, you know, you can't beat this case. Just look at it, it's all shiny and whatnot. And for the operating system, I went with Windows 8 because I like Windows 8. Some people don't like Windows 8. If you don't want Windows 8, go with Windows 7. You put whatever operating system you want on it because you're the one building this computer, not me. So yeah, for $89.98, I would go with Windows 8. But there it is, guys. That is the $1,000 build. The estimated wattage that this computer will be using is 362 watts. So in hindsight, we didn't even really need the 620 watt power supply. But if you put in a new GPU that needs more wattage or whatever, you'll be happy, and you can rest assured that that GPU will be getting more than enough power than it really needs. And the total cost for this machine is $992.55, so didn't even go over the $1,000 limit. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, smack that like button, it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. A link to this build will be in the description below. And that's it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which is actually going to be my 100th video uploaded to YouTube. So yeah, get excited. This your boy, Huggadug3, and I'm out. God bless.